Alright, you guys, as promised, I'm making a video for our test tomorrow. This is graphing rational functions, and I'm going to make another one too, but this one is just about finding the equations given the graphs. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Let's say that this is our graph that we have been given. Well, I know that we're going to use the standard form, which is y equals a divided by x minus b plus c. Well, each one of these is going to be, the b and the c stand for something. Uh-oh, I didn't want to do that. The c is wherever our horizontal asymptote is. And the b value is going to be wherever our vertical asymptote is. So, the very first thing you want to do is try to find where these two values are. So looking at my graph, I see that it looks like my vertical asymptote is at this value right here. And it looks to be at y equals 2. My line is not that straight. Let's try that again. At y equals 2, right? And it seems that my vertical asymptote is located at, let's see, it looks like right here, which is x equals 6. And the next step is to find a point on your graph. It's very important to find a point on your graph. And an easy one that I can see that we can use is, hey, how about using just 1, 1? That works. So I'm going to use, first of all, for my horizontal asymptote, I know that that's at positive 2. My vertical asymptote is at positive 6. And I'm going to use the point 1, 1 for my x and my y values. So let's go ahead and plug them in and do the algebra. I have 1 equals a, because our purpose is to plug everything in and solve for a. 1 minus, remember your vertical asymptote is going to go after that minus sign. My vertical asymptote is 6. And then whatever your horizontal asymptote is, you keep the sign with it. So since my horizontal asymptote is positive 2, this is going to be plus 2. So then we just go ahead and do the math. This is 1 equals a divided by, well, 1 minus 6 is negative 5 plus 2. I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. If I subtract 2 from both sides, I get negative 1 equals a divided by negative 5. And last but not least, you need to, multiply by negative 5 on both sides. And I would get that a equals positive 5. But if you give me that as an answer, I'm going to mark it wrong. I want the full equation that will work for any point on the graph. So you should give me y equals my a value, which is 5, divided by x minus the b value, which is 6. And the c value, which is the horizontal asymptote, goes on the outside. So this is the answer. Now, wouldn't it be great if there was like some kind of shortcut that we can use to solve this? Well, maybe there is. As always, if you don't like the shortcut or this other method, you do not have to use it. But we're going to go on to this next screen. This is the same function. All right, it's the same graph. But I'm just going to show you a different way to get to the same answer. So once again, I need to find my horizontal asymptote. I believe it was at 2, right? So first step, you find your horizontal asymptote. Second step, find your vertical asymptote. I do believe it's at 6. All right, here comes the part for you to remember. So you find where these two cross, and you go over 1. Because I want to go up, or find out what the slope is, to go up to my graph. So I see that I go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps to get to the next point on my graph. Well, guess what, you guys? That's your A value. So my equation is simply going to be y equals my A value. In this case, it's 5 divided by x minus my vertical asymptote, which was 6. And then my horizontal asymptote is on the outside. Well, it's plus 2. We just got the same exact answer in a fraction of the time. Yes, it's valid for you to use this method. Now let's do a couple more examples to make sure that we got it. So at this point, I would ask that you go ahead and maybe pause the video so you can try to see if you can get the answer to this on your own first before I get started. All right. So I know that we're using y equals A divided by x minus b plus c. I have to find my horizontal and vertical asymptotes. I see a horizontal asymptote at -3. I see a vertical asymptote at -7. That's the straightest line. There we go. At -7, right? I'm also going to pick a point on my graph, and -5, -1 seems about right. So I got a horizontal asymptote at -3. I have a vertical asymptote at -7, and I'm going to use the point -5, -1. Now I'm going to plug everything into this equation and solve for A. So I will have -1 equals A divided by -5 minus -7. It's very important that you keep the minus sign that's in the original function and put whatever the vertical asymptote is behind that minus sign. And my C value is my horizontal asymptote. It's actually negative, so this is going to be -3. So two negatives make a positive, so that's really -5 plus 7, or 7 minus 5, which is the same thing as 2. So I got -1 equals A divided by 2 minus 3. Now I'm going to add 3 to both sides. If I add 3 to both sides, I would get 2 equals A divided by 2. And to get A by itself, I would multiply both sides by 2. And I would get that A simply equals 4. But I'm not done. My final equation would be y equals 4 divided by x minus -7, which is plus 7 minus 3. You want to try the other method? All right. Let's go ahead and mark the horizontal asymptote as well as the vertical asymptote. Let's find out where they cross. And they cross right here. Whoops. There we go. So we move over 1, and then we're going to count how many steps it takes for us to reach the actual another point on the graph. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So in this case, A equals 4. So the equation is going to be y equals 4 divided by x minus -7. Minus -7 means plus 7. And then minus my horizontal asymptote, or plus my horizontal asymptote, which is -3. Plus -3 is the same thing as -3. That's the answer. Let's do one more. Go ahead and pause to see if you can get the answer on your own. All right. I can easily see that I have a horizontal asymptote at 6. It's a little too high, isn't it? I'm going to try to make it work. Or not. And then I have a vertical asymptote at 10. And I'm going to use the point. We can use 8, 7. Which is right there, right? 8, 7. So I know we're doing y equals a divided by x minus b plus c. Going ahead and solving for the equation because I'm using the point 8, 7. This is going to be 7 equals a divided by 8 minus 10 plus 6. This is going to be 7 equals a divided by negative 2 plus 6. If I subtract 6 from both sides, I would get 1 equals a divided by negative 2. And I would need to multiply both sides by negative 2. I would get that a equals negative 2. But my final equation would be y equals negative 2 divided by x minus 10 plus 6. And for one more time, we're going to use the other method to see if that can be used. So with this method, go ahead. Again, we mark the horizontal asymptote. We mark the vertical asymptote. All right. We find out where they cross. Then this time, to get to the upper equation, we have to go one step in the negative directions. Very important. So we went over negative 1. That's my change in x, isn't it? Isn't that just slope? And then we see how many steps it takes to get to the graph. So we got 1, 2. So since we went one step to the negative, in the negative direction, and we went up 2, that's actually going to be an a value of negative 2. So my equation simply is y equals negative 2 divided by x minus 10, because that's my vertical asymptote, plus my horizontal asymptote, which is positive 6. And that's it.